I guess, very exciting times as we are seeing this reopening with caveats. How important is this, and I guess what kind of a roadmap could it be to restarting travel in the region?
I think it's actually a pretty historic day. How it will really roll out, I think we really don't know yet. We are certainly hoping for the best, but it's historic if you think of the fact that there's not a single place east of the Maldives and west of Hawaii, and that probably contains about 1/3 of the world's population, where in fact there's any attempt to try to open up their countries at all. And as you said, in the midst of this outbreak of the Delta variant. So what Phuket is trying to do now, I think, is being closely watched by many other countries to see whether the idea of a sandbox concept where vaccinated tourists and vaccinated locals can interact in a sandbox, whether that can be the beginning of a slow recovery or not. A lot of countries are watching. And you may find that if it works, you may even find that Australia, they may make a Tasmania into a sandbox. Bali would be a sandbox. But clearly, when you have a situation where the vast majority of the entire country is not vaccinated, and that is Thailand as well as Australia, as well as many other countries in ASEAN and so on. If you are going to wait until the entire country is vaccinated before you completely open up, it's going to be disastrous for the economy. So the idea of a sandbox has already replaced the idea of a travel bubble. Because if you look at the travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand, between Hong Kong and Singapore, the idea that, two relatively unvaccinated but COVID-free places could open up, that really doesn't work because they've had to shut down very much. So the idea of a sandbox now is the last idea, and it's the only game in town right now.
Kwon Ping, it's a great point, and to be honest, I would take Tasmania if it meant I could go see my family and don't have to go to Sydney. But let's talk more broadly. I know we want to talk about how this could perhaps boost your business, but tell us how you've been affected by the pandemic with the fact that you have not really seen international travel for some 18 months now.
Well, for Banyan Tree as a group, it depends on where you're talking about. We have hotels in the Americas. They're doing actually very well in Mexico and so on. We have quite a lot of hotels in China. In fact, almost half our hotels are in China. That's, of course, booming as ever before. But the hotels that are in Southeast Asia, we have hotels in Vietnam, in Indonesia, and in Thailand. And of course, those have been hit very badly. There's been absolutely no visitorship at all. For quite a while, and I mean, I just came to Bangkok for a meeting, and my colleagues were so excited because we have something like 4 to 5% occupancy. So you can imagine the importance of the Phuket sandbox succeeding as being really important, not just for Phuket, not just for Thailand, but really for half of the world in the entire Indo-Pacific area. We are continuing to be shut down. Yep.
I want to get a sense of, okay, we get the sandbox in Phuket. As soon as that was announced, what were the bookings like? Did you see a big spike? One part of my question. And the second is, Phuket's where really Banyan started, isn't it? And what's your outlook for the next few years? And how does this island recover from the terrible 18 months that we've been witnessing?
Well, okay, the first one is that actually nobody in Phuket is wanting to have a big jump in arrivals. We really don't want it because there's going to be a lot of issues to iron out. There are obviously going to be a lot of glitches happening. And the last thing you want to have is a whole huge queue of tourists arriving, a totally flustered immigration and health department, outbreaks that are not contained, and then the whole thing shuts down again. We actually want a very cautious opening, and that's why the opening is in July, when it's actually the low season for Phuket. In our own hotels, we're seeing a few hundred bookings. We have over 1,500 rooms, and we're seeing a few hundred bookings, all spread out over the next week or so, and that's good. We want to keep it that way. The whole of Phuket wants to keep it that way so that we can iron out all these glitches. That's the only way. And as Phuket as a whole is concerned, I'm actually very optimistic about Phuket. Phuket went through the worst crisis prior to this, was a tsunami, which devastated the country, the whole island of Phuket. Thailand has gone through SARS, it's gone through political issues and so on. But I think the long-term future of Thailand remains very positive. And Phuket in particular, at one point you may not know, but Phuket was voted the most popular country, Thailand was voted the most popular country in the world for digital nomads because of low tax rates, low living expenses, and so on. So I think this country will continue to grow, and we will come out of this.
Kwon Ping.
You know, all things come to pass.
Kwon Ping, how will the whole experience of a banyan tree have evolved and changed as a consequence of the pandemic?
Well, we have already been positioned quite well to take advantage, so to speak, of the pandemic, because the bulk of the Banyan Tree branded hotels, not our other brands, we have altogether 8 brands, but if you look at the Banyan Tree brands, they've always been villa hotels. So that's already relatively isolated from, you know, mass tourism. You're pretty much in your own little villa. And we've always had a strong focus on wellness, well-being, which is one of the big consequences of the pandemic. So we're coming out of this with a lot of new initiatives, 2 new sub-brands of Banyan Tree, Banyan Tree Veya, Banyan Tree Escape, which we're really launching in different parts of the world, which will now emphasize the ecotourism that we've always been known for and the well-being that we've been known for. So I think we will come out of this, as everyone else will, with lessons as to where we can be stronger and how we can improve on areas where historically the industry has been weak. Like, for example, digital transformation is something that's going to be critical for everyone.